Hello, my dear friends, how are you all? I hope you are doing your best in your own situation. So, let's end this weekend with this fairy tale. I am going to read a new story. We are going to read a new story. We are going to start a new story in the segment Fairy Tales of Bengal, and I am reading this story from the book Bengal Fairy Tales, written by Francis Bradley Bird, and this book was illustrated by Abanindranath Thakur, and it was published in the year 1920 and published by John Lane, the Bodley Head, in London, and in New York, John Lane Company. So let's start. So today we are going to read the next story, Poddolochon the Weaver. So before starting this story, I must say Poddolochon, this name, this word actually is a name, and it denotes Vishnu, one of the main gods of Hinduism, or not Hinduism. Hinduism, not a right word. There is no Hinduism. It is Sanatan Panth. So let's don't go there. But in the Trinity, the famous Trinity, one one of that Trinity is Vishnu, and Padma or Padolochon, it means Vishnu. But the literally meaning of this word is the man who has a beautiful eyes, that means Lochan, as beautiful as a lotus, that means Padma or Poddo. So let's start. Poddolochon the Weaver. There is a legend in Bengal that weavers as a class are very stupid people, there being this peculiar element in their composition that while very expert in matters of weaving and selling the products of their labor, they betray an extraordinary lack of common sense in every other respect. Poddolochon was a weaver, and from what we have said, it is needless to add that he was a first class dolt. One day, being at leisure, he was seated on his haunches at his door and regaling himself with the fumes of his hookah. We will come to know what is hookah a little bit later. When he beheld the well known palmist of his village passing by, after the usual form of salutation, the weaver asked the palmist to tell him his fortune, specially calculating the time of his death. As, however, the reader of fortune made his living by his trade and knew his customer to be too stingy to pay even a pice for his labor, he, in ill humor, took up the weaver's right palm and dropped it again in a second, saying that he would die the very moment a line of thread should pass out from behind his body. The parties then separated, the palmist to practice his art among those more liberal, and the weaver to work at his loom. Several days passed after this prophecy concerning the weaver's time of exit from the world, when, as chance would have it, the thread round his shuttle got so entangled in his loincloth that it was difficult to extricate it. The more he tried to draw it out, the more did it lengthen itself, till at last, being sure that this was the fulfillment of the prophecy concerning his death, he rolled on the ground, lamenting in the bitterest terms his ultimate untimely departure from the world and the subsequent wretchedness of his dear wife, whom he must leave a helpless widow. So my dear friends, just see this figure. I suppose you can notice the mustached man. He is holding something, a black color smoking pot or smoking instrument. This is known as hookah. Usually they are made out of uh, made out of wood and as well as earth, that means soil. And this is our weaver Padolochon, and the man in front of him is our palmist. So what happened next? Let's go back to the story. His lamentations grew so loud that they drew his better half to the scene. She who had been apprised she, who had been apprised of the palmist's calculation, was beyond herself with grief and fell by her husband's side, railing against the gods for this unjust and cruel visitation that they were inflicting upon them. Her shrieks quickly brought the neighbors to her side. They also were weavers, and not a whit more sensible than the afflicted couple. And when they saw Podolochon in that unhappy state, they could not forbear shedding tears of sympathy. The man himself was naturally of an imaginative turn of mind, and in fancy he went through all the agonies of death, omitting not even the last gasp. Then, when he seemed motionless, his wife and friends supposed that the soul had taken flight, and they at once engaged themselves in making preparations for the obsequious bundles of wood with a very sparse quantity of ghee to be rubbed on the supposed corpse before placing it on the funeral pile, and incense to be thrown into the fire to make a sweet odor were prepared, and the sympathetic neighbors set out for the place of cremation in a deserted locality many miles distant from their village. They carried on their shoulders their friend's body wrapped in a mat and tied to a bamboo, and leaving the city behind them, they reached the middle of a field when it was near midnight. There were several footpaths marked in the field, and the benighted men did not know which to take. They were at their wits' end and commenced arguing on the point. The disagreement took the form of a quarrel until at last Poddo, so long silent in fancied death, could no longer hold his tongue. He cried out, "Friends, I know well the way to the burning ghat, and I would gladly tell you in which direction to go if my tongue were not tied by Yama." So, Yama is the god who, what should I say, who takes care of death, or the god of death. Also, he keeps all the he keeps the journal of all our good deeds and bad deeds, and he judges us after our life on this earth. So what happened next we will come to know tomorrow. So till then, be happy, be safe. Shubhamastu.